What's up guys, it is Lutfi and today's video I'll be covering the fixtures for Game Week 3 and also having some of the season predictions and who I think would finish at the top of the Premier League at the end of the season, and maybe I'll run through the Champions League positions. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys are new, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I would really appreciate all the support that you have been giving me. Now let's begin by taking a look at the overall dream team for the season, the first two game weeks. And in goal is Tom Heaton with 14 goals. He has a pretty good start to the season, I should say. Collins from West Ham is there, probably because he scored a goal. Gareth McCauley too, because he scored a goal and got a clean sheet in the first match of the season for West Bromwich Albion. And Davies making a surprise appearance in the dream team because they look pretty solid this season, surprising lots of people because their team actually has not much of a depth. Moving on to the midfielders, it is Capu with two surprising goals in his first two matches, and many of the managers actually have him on the bench, so they were not able to utilize the points that he provided to them in Game Week 1 and Game Week 2. Next up, it is Felipe Coutinho doing well for Liverpool in the first match. In the second match against Burnley, well, they were shut out and were not able to score any goal. Coutinho still looking a decent option for many of the managers. Next up is Ross Barclay, who surprisingly had 2 goals in 2 matches, and his price has risen to £7.7 million. Great option. Everton look pretty decent because their run of fixtures after Game Week 2, which is Game Week 3 onwards, look pretty good. Last but not least, it is Fur from Swansea, having a decent start to the season, I should say, scoring a goal, 14 points in total. And now to the big guns up front, it is Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Sergio Aguero. Both of these two players, world-class strikers, but they are evenly matching up each other. So 22 points each for these two players. They got the same amount of goals, same amount of bonus points. So pretty close. Wonder what will happen in Game Week 3. Last but not least, it is Alvaro Negredo making the switch to Middlesbrough and having a decent season so far. Last weekend he picked up a couple of assists and he looked to continue his good form. Now let's move on to Game Week 3 fixtures, where I'll briefly talk about the matches and also who I think would do well in the coming season. So first up, I think it is a really interesting match between Tottenham Hotspurs and Liverpool. As of now, Liverpool's defense isn't looking too good at all. So I believe that Tottenham would be able to score some goals past their defense. And looking at how Liverpool is playing their midfielders, Coutinho, Firmino, Sadio Mane, Daniel Sturridge looked to make an appearance again, but I'm not sure if he will be playing as the centre forward or down the wing. And he has expressed his displeasure that he does not like playing at the wing. So we'll see what Klopp does there. And I think that Liverpool too would be able to score against Spurs. So I think it will be a high scoring game, possibly a 2-2 or 3-3, because Liverpool really look bad defensively. So hopefully my two midfielders, Eric Lamela and also Christian Eriksen, can do some damage and grab me some points, because the first 2 weeks they didn't do anything for me. Now moving on to the next match, Chelsea taking on Burnley. Well, I think playing at Stamford Bridge, Burnley would not be able to do what they did to Liverpool last weekend. Chelsea would easily get the 3 points. We look to Eden Hazard having a good game, possibly scoring and having an assist. So pretty easy for Chelsea in that fixture. Next up, it is Crystal Palace and Bournemouth. Well, Palace recently signed Christian Benteke, and he looks to make a start this weekend against Bournemouth. Benteke is a really good striker, but when he moved to Liverpool, things just didn't work out. It is the same as Mario Balotelli and Andy Carroll, both of them moving to Liverpool, but somehow didn't work out there. So hopefully Benteke would be able to have a good start at Palace, and if he starts to score goals, he's a great option because he's a real budgeted striker, and I see Crystal Palace grabbing 3 points here. Moving on to Everton and Stoke, should be a pretty interesting mid-table clash. Everton will look to have Romelu Lukaku to start off the season by scoring a few goals for himself, because Stoke's defense without Jack Butland looked pretty weak. But then again, Stoke have Marko Arnautovic, Bojan Krkic. They are good quality players, and if the Everton defense laps, I think Stoke can capitalize and score a few goals. So pretty hard to call this match, but I'll say it'll be a draw. And moving on to the next one, it is defending champions Leicester City taking on Swansea. Well, Leicester, not having a good season, have not picked up a win yet, but I think taking on the Swans at home, the King Power Stadium, Jamie Vardy and Riyad Mahrez should set the tone and lead Leicester to their first victory of the season. Moving on to Southampton and Sunderland. Well, David Moyes did not have a great start to the season, but he recently made a couple of signings and brought in some players from Manchester United. Hopefully that works out soon, because Southampton, with the addition of Redmond in their team, they look pretty decent. Dusan Tadic too, he looked pretty solid, but was just unable to convert his chances into points via goals or assists. And after last weekend's match, I think Southampton would want to bounce back because they played against a very strong Manchester United side in the first Friday night football. Next is Watford taking on Arsenal. Arsenal, like Leicester, not having a great start to the season. And I think Arsene Wenger needs to change things up if they want to finish the top four. And Watford, on the other hand, new manager, Italian manager, he looks pretty good, Claude Pell. And I think he may well lead his Watford side to a draw against Arsenal at home. If not, they'll be able to maybe grab a win, because I think Arsenal are really weak. Hopefully they'll be able to get back their injured players as soon as possible, so they'll be able to bounce back and get the season off and running. Lastly, for the Saturday matches, it is Hull taking on Manchester United. Hull making a surprising start to the season, 2 wins out of 2. But I think against a side such as Manchester United, who looks revamped with new fire in their game, I think it'll be too much for Hull to handle. And I look forward to seeing Manchester United grab 3 points in this match. Moving on to the Sunday matches, we have West Bromwich Albion taking on Middlesbrough. Well, let's see if Tony Pulis is able to park the bus against the hot Middlesbrough and also now Alvaro Negredo. So let's see if West Brom would be able to get a clean sheet from this matchup. And finally, we have Manchester City taking on West Ham. West Ham having a pretty rough start to the season. We saw Dimitri Payet come off the bench a couple of times, and I think he'll be good to go and possibly make a start. Hopefully he'll be able to inspire West Ham to get a win against Manchester City, but I think that City are too strong. But they may be a little fatigued because they have been playing slightly extra matches in the Champions League qualifiers. And now that Joe Hart has probably played his final game as a City player, you never know what can happen. But with Pep Guardiola's style of play, he's able to change things up really quick. And if West Ham don't respond, then I think City would be getting 3 points here. So for me, City would be getting 3 points, and they'll look to match up with Manchester United at the top of the table. Now, before I move on to recap my captaincy choices, I would just like to make my predictions for this 16-17 season and who I think would win the Premier League. It is a pretty tough call because we have lots of strong teams, but for me, I think that Manchester United would be winning the Barclays Premier League title this season because they look really solid under their new manager Jose Mourinho, He's a real experienced manager with experience from all over Europe. He knows all the tactics. And I think that a good gauge would be when Manchester United take on Manchester City in the coming weeks. That would actually show who would actually win the title, because City looks pretty strong too, because Guardiola, like I mentioned, is a really good manager, and Mourinho and him, they have history back in Spain where Mourinho was managing Real Madrid and Guardiola for Barcelona. So they had lots of experience in the El Clasico. Guardiola was triumphant in those matches most of the time. But I think Mourinho is with vengeance, and with Manchester United, he'll look to grab the title this season. For the Champions League spot, I think that second place would be a close fight between Chelsea and City. So either one of them would be taking up second and third. And the final Champions League spot, it is a real hard choice, because Arsenal, as of now, I don't think they'll be able to make it the way that they're playing right now. Leicester, on the other hand, is pretty much the same as Arsenal. Liverpool, they look pretty strong, but they need to work on the defense, because to win matches, you need to have good defense. So the last Champions League spot is really, really tight. And as of now, maybe I'll say that Liverpool has it right now, because they have shown that they'll be able to score like 4 goals against a team like Arsenal, although they were injury stricken. So those are my prediction. I think Manchester United would win, followed by City or Chelsea, and then maybe Liverpool. So should be a pretty interesting season, I should say. Tottenham too, they look to be in the mix for their 4th Champions League spot. But Harry Kane needs to start scoring soon, because without Moussa Dembele, the statistics on Harry Kane isn't too good, because he just doesn't score when Dembele doesn't play. So hopefully he'll be able to start scoring soon, because Spurs really need his presence in goal. Now let's just recap my captains for Game Week 3. It is between Zlatan Ibrahimovic and also Sergio Aguero. If you guys own one of these players, then definitely pick them as your captain. But if you own both of them, just decide which player that you think would be the best choice, because both of these players are on form as of now. They are on fire, and just go with your gut on this. I think it would pay off. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to me. Do follow me on Twitter at FantasyFoxes. You could find the link down in the description below. And also, you could join my mini league, Kings of Fantasy. Over 200 people in the league as of now. And you can enter the league code right there, or click the link down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any feedback or any questions for me, don't forget to leave them in the comment section down below. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Take care.